All right, hey everyone. Welcome to Tribe Talk interview number 3. Today we have Nicole Melichar on. Am I pronouncing that right? Is it Melichar?
Yes, you are.
Okay, perfect. She is the number 19 doubles player in the world right now, and she won the you won Wimbledon mixed doubles in 2018,
Correct.
as
Yeah.
well as made the finals that year. You've got one
Mhm.
title this year so far. Nicole, welcome. How's it going?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's going good. It was a hot day at practice today, so I'm happy to be sitting in the AC.
Okay, nice. So you just got off the courts?
I practiced this morning. I finished like 3 hours ago. So,
Cool.
but still, the heat tends to
Awesome.
stay with you.
Yeah. Where are you?
I'm in Florida.
Okay. And who
hmm
are you practicing with? Are you practicing with some other tour players or?
Yeah, actually, today I practiced with Sabine Lisicki.
Okay.
So yeah, I live in Bradenton. She does as well. And then we practiced with my coach down in Sarasota. Coach Torsten Peschke, who's the husband of Květa Peschke, my former doubles partner. So yeah, we had a practice together. So it was good.
Nice. Awesome. So since everything kind of shut down, have you been able to play a lot? What have you been up to?
Well, during quarantine when nothing was allowed, I was fortunate enough that the courts I live in a gated community, so the courts in
Mhm.
here were accessible to me. So I was practicing maybe every 2, 3, 4 days, just depending on how I was feeling. But I was
Mhm.
working out almost every day. I was working hard to try and stay fit and do other things. So I
Sure.
did like rollerblading, biking, swimming, yoga, Pilates, meditation, just like different things that I could do, especially with a lot of the online stream videos that I could get access to.
Nice. Cool. So some of those like I saw my sister actually sent me this like online boxing video type thing, like something
Oh,
like
cool.
that.
Yeah, well, I was doing some of the fitness workouts in the Nike app, but
Oh,
then
okay.
the WTA was sending us some meditation videos and stuff like that. So I was trying to get those done.
Nice. Awesome. So as best as you can tell us, what does your schedule look like for the rest of the year? Assuming we
That's
have the US Open and everything
Well,
else goes
assuming
according
everything
to plan.
happens,
Yeah.
I will be arriving at the Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia on July 10th to play World Team Tennis.
Okay.
And that starts on July 12th and goes for 3 weeks. And
Got
then
it.
I'm assuming I'll probably head home after that for a week or two, and then head up to New York for
Okay.
Cincinnati in New York, and then U.S.
Yeah.
Open in New York.
Right.
And then after that, yeah, the schedule goes to Europe. It's I think Madrid, Rome, and then French Open. And then after that, it extends and goes into Asia.
Hmm.
I don't know exactly what weeks are everything is happening, but
Sure.
I mean, based on the schedule right now, if everything goes as planned, that's what I would do. But obviously, I would try not to play every week. I would need some time off in between. But yeah, we've
Right.
had a lot of time off now, so I would try and
Yeah.
see what I could do to play.
Right. So what's your feeling and what's like the talk around the players right now? I see like the media and a lot of the fans saying like, some people are like, oh yeah, we need to have the US Open, it's gonna happen, and then other people are like, there's no way we're gonna have it. We should back out after this whole thing went down with Djokovic's tour and stuff like that. What's your feeling? What's the vibe?
I mean, my personal feeling, well, I just read in the news that New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut are doing mandatory quarantine orders for the states that have had spikes in the coronavirus, which Florida
Hmm.
would be one of those states. So if I were to try to go up there, I would need to, stay in a house alone for 2 weeks, basically.
Right.
So I don't know how that's going to have an effect on US Open. And I know some of the players that are traveling here for World Team Tennis need to quarantine themselves for 2 weeks. And I don't exactly know how the government, checks up on everyone, but surely they're tracking us through our phones and everything. Like there's got to be a way that they're paying attention. Um,
Hmm.
but honestly, if they think it's safe and they're doing the protocols, I think it's going to be a pain in the butt, to get fever tested every day, and the every other day, the swab to get tested to if you have coronavirus or not, with the social distancing and the masks. I mean,
Hmm.
it's nothing that we're used to. It's not normal. It's kind of the new norm during this time, and it's super annoying, and all of us hate it. But I guess that's kind of what we need to do. And do I think the
Right.
US Open should happen? I I think they should try and make it happen if they think it's safe enough. But my main concern is I don't agree with the fact that they're not doing full draw sizes like a classic Grand
Hmm.
Slam, and that's the part I disagree with. I feel like they need to um, either have all the draw sizes, main draw, qualies, doubles, mixed doubles, wheelchairs,
Hmm.
juniors, legends, do everything, do it right. Um, or maybe they need to do it like smaller and then just not give points, okay, do it for prize money, but don't give points, because if they're going to give
Hmm.
points, I think it's going to be unfair.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know all the details of like what went into that decision. I mean, I guess obviously, um, most of the prize money goes to the singles players, and then singles gets more, media coverage and TV and stuff like that. So I imagine a lot of it's just like a money thing, and ESPN is involved and stuff like that. But yeah, it was kind of strange to see. I guess I get that they might need to like remove some stuff, but they do a full singles draw and then cut the doubles draw in half, and I don't know. It's just weird, like how they decided some of this stuff.
Well, what's also concerning me is at first they said everyone um, is only allowed plus one person because they need to
Hmm.
limit the number of people.
Right.
And but now I've heard, and I don't know if it's true or not, I've only heard rumors, and that they're gonna be allowing players to have like two or three people come. So it's like, well, if you're allowing two or three people to come with the players, then how come you can't have qualies? I'm sure a
Right.
lot of the qualies players or the doubles players, if you make a bigger doubles draw, would be happy to even come alone. But then now players that get into the event can have two or three people coming with them.
Yeah.
If that's true, then I don't understand the thought process behind that either, because the whole thought process was, okay, we need to limit numbers, let's only do singles,
Right.
main draw, doubles, small draw, and everyone one person, that's it. But now if they're easing up
Yeah.
on those rules but not opening the other draws, I don't understand it.
Right. Yeah. If they can get more people in, they need to prioritize getting more of the players in, like the
Yeah.
people who
Hmm.
are actually playing in the tournament.
Hmm.
So the doubles draw is 32, right? 32
Yes.
teams. Okay.
To my knowledge, yes.
Okay, that's right. And then since you're 19 in the world, you should qualify, right?
Yes, I will get
Okay.
in. Hmm.
Okay, got it. And then let's see. Walk us through kind of the year up to this point. You had a good start to the year. You won a tournament in Australia, had the
Hmm.
Australian Open, and then all of a sudden this hit. So walk us through kind of the year so far.
Yeah, I mean, I went to Australia early just to, practice there a bit with my team and my new doubles partner, and just to try and get acclimatized, because, the weather is different with the time difference and everything. Sometimes it takes a while, but had a good start in winning Adelaide, then went to the Australian Open. That didn't turn out to be a good tournament for me, but, that happens. And then went home for a couple weeks, and then I flew to the Middle East to play in Doha and Dubai, and that's sort of when things started. The cases in China really were going up in the news, and people started freaking out. And that's when, at the airports, you noticed a lot more people with masks, and people
Right.
doing fever checks, especially if you looked like you were Asian. Um, and it didn't matter if you're traveling from China or not. Like, if you looked like you
Right.
were Asian, they were taking people to get checked. And then all of a sudden, one country, I believe it was Kuwait, closed its borders for anyone with a Chinese passport, so you couldn't even transit through there. So when I flew from Doha to Dubai, my doubles partner, she had to make sure to fly through Oman and not through Kuwait, because they wouldn't let her through. So then you
Oh,
kind of
wow.
see it starting to get a bit more serious. And then after, yeah, you get to Indian Wells. And my dad was supposed to fly in the day after me, or
Mhm.
2 days, excuse me, 2 days after me. I flew in on a Saturday. And then the next day on Sunday is when we got the announcement that the tournament wasn't starting on the
Right.
Monday. And I canceled my dad's flight, obviously, because it would be pointless to go out there. And I booked the first flight I could to fly home the next day. But none of us, then the rumors sort of started like, oh, well, we're still trying to get Miami to happen. So I wanted to be in Florida. At least I'm in Bradenton, which is about 3 hours from Miami.
Mhm.
And so I came here to practice. And a lot of players, I think, came to Florida because there's a lot of places in Florida to practice. And then they canceled Miami, and that's when everyone started,
Yeah.
you know, the Asian players went home, the European players went home. That's when everyone was like, okay. And then boom, lockdown starts
Yeah.
for New York and the states where the cases started going up, and that's when the madness kind of happened. And then
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember when they canceled um, Indian Wells, and it seems like it was like 2 years ago now. It's crazy. Um, so I want to pivot a little bit. So tell us your kind of story, like growing up, how you got into tennis, how you chose doubles at some point. I imagine you played mostly singles growing up, just like everybody else.
Hmm.
Yeah, just give us kind of your background.
Yeah, well, I've always been around tennis. My sister is 5 years older than me, and she started playing from a young age. So even when she was 5, 6 years old, already playing, I was on a tennis court running around, you know, picking up
Hmm.
balls and stuff, and just like a little 1, 2 year old little toddler.
Hmm.
So growing up, I saw her playing, and I always wanted to be better than her. That was, you know, the first incentive, and then I beat her when I was 11 years old. And then after I beat her, I started kind of, I always had a competitive nature. And that's kind of when I decided that I wanted to really try and become a good player. And I begged my parents to let me homeschool. And after, you know, several months of me really pushing them to have me do that, then they agreed. And I also had another friend that was homeschooling that also played tennis, so her parents kind of helped push my parents as well.
Yeah.
And then it transitioned into where the small town I lived in Florida didn't have that many players, and the academies around were very expensive. So I got a scholarship to go to a John Newcomb's in Texas, the tennis
Oh
academy
yeah.
there.
Okay.
So I spent 3 years there, and then I went to a former coach that I used to work with before back in Florida, Nick Blackwood. He started an academy in Arizona, so then I went with to work with Nick Blackwood in Arizona, and then from there I actually got sick. I got mononucleosis.
Hmm.
So I went home. I left the academy there and I went home to recover, and it took me several months. But after that, after I recovered, I actually won the US Open playoffs in mixed doubles. So I had like a little taste of, you know, playing at the top level, winning a wild card into the US Open in mixed doubles. And after that, though I had recovered from mono, I still wasn't actually fully fit. So even though I was trying to play singles, I was losing a lot of matches, especially in 3 sets, just because I was too tired to
Yeah.
like I'd win a good first set and then I would end up losing because I
Right.
had no energy. So my confidence went down and everything. But in doubles, I didn't need as much, as much of the physical stamina. And I think
Right.
always my game, because of my serve, and I feel I have good volleys and stuff, that like my game was pretty good for doubles. And then my doubles ranking went up, my singles ranking didn't. And then that's kind of when the transition happened, that I started getting into bigger tournaments in doubles, making more money as opposed to singles. And
Hmm.
that's sort of how it escalated. And now I'm a double specialist that likes to play
Nice.
singles, and I try and play when I can, but
Yeah.
I don't have many holes in the calendar where I can go for a singles tournament.
Right. Right. So you don't enter a lot of singles draws anymore.
Well, I try and I enter all the ones that I can. Every WTA I enter, but the thing is, because
Hmm.
my single ranking is low, I don't I don't get accepted into a lot of the draws because my ranking isn't high enough. And
Yeah.
in order for me to play a singles tournament, I'd have to go to a lower level event. And most weeks, I'm going to choose to play the doubles event instead of going to a smaller tournament to play singles.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Cool. And then you mentioned the John Newcomb Academy. I think that's near. I live in Austin.
It's in
Isn't
New
that?
Braunfels.
Yeah, yeah. So that's like just south of here.
Hmm.
Okay. I've lived in Austin for like 5 years now, and I still have not played tennis there.
Oh,
Um,
really? It's a
yeah,
beautiful place.
yeah. I hear that. I go to San Antonio a lot and play tennis all over Austin, and yeah, I still have not been there, but I've heard really good things about it.
Yeah.
Um, okay, cool. So, at what point? So, when did this transition happen from singles to doubles? Like, you're starting to do better in these doubles draws, and um,
Well, I got mono in 2012, and then
okay,
2013 I was still, I was still trying to play singles, but 2014 is the year where I, started choosing to go for
yeah,
higher level events in doubles because I could get in as opposed to singles. And then like 2014 was, I guess, the transition year where
yeah,
um it was basically follow the money.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, I remember I had mono back in college, and
It's
I was playing
awful.
college tennis, and yeah, like I would go to practice, and sometimes my energy would be fine for 30 minutes, and then just out of nowhere, just I can't even like toss the ball for my serve.
Hmm. Yeah, it's the
um,
weirdest disease.
yeah, it is. It definitely is. So, so let's talk about strategy a little bit. So, what's your biggest strength as a doubles player? Do you think?
I'd say my serve.
Yeah.
I think I serve well, and I set up my partners at the net to put away a lot of volleys. So I think definitely my serve has been my biggest strength overall.
Okay. And how do you use that? Like, what are your kind of preferences as far as serves? Do you like to go like T or wide or body or?
I think a big tool that I have is that I like to mix it up.
Uh-huh.
So so the element of surprise I think works well along with the fact that I can create quite a big first serve if I
Hmm.
want to, and if I'm hitting my spots it's great, but if I'm not hitting my spots I still feel like I can put in enough variety with moving it around the box and using the kick, using the slice, but also
Hmm.
using my partner as a tool and as a weapon. When my partner knows I'm gonna jam them on the backhand body, then I know I need to hit my serve there, because if it goes forehand body, then all of a sudden, the options are different. So I really try
Right.
and be very specific with where I want to serve. And it doesn't work out every time, but I
Sure.
feel confident that if I do hit my spot and my partner knows about it, that they're hopefully likely to get a first volley.
Hmm. Okay. Now, how do you think about like going into a match? How do you think about your serve strategy? Do you and your partner talk about like, okay, like I generally like to serve backhand, so we're going to start there and then adjust in the match? Or do you know, like, do you look at your opponent and say, like, okay, like this girl's got a weaker forehand, so we're going to go wide? Or how do you
I
kind of?
think I think I mean, obviously I have my favorite serves that I like to hit, but
Mhm.
if the opponent has a clear weakness, if they really don't like the kick to the backhand because it gets above their shoulders, then
Sure.
I'm gonna try and work that a lot. And my partner, once I toss the ball up, then my opponent can move as they want. So I need my partners to tell me, like, hey, after you toss the ball up, they're kind of cheating over. So maybe they're
Right.
expecting it. So maybe you need to change it up a bit. So I'm working with that feedback from my partner. And if I'm playing against someone that returns really well, then I need to definitely be smart about my positioning and my placement, like my court positioning, where I position myself on the baseline, where my partner is at the net, and also where I want to
Hmm.
serve to. And you're trying to think about what is the most difficult ball for them to hit, so it goes past, because ultimately you want to hit the ball as a returner past the net person. Like if the net
Right.
person hits a volley, you're usually afraid of that. So which serve can I hit so that there's a good chance that the ball will be in my partner's reach.
Right.
And so those are things that my partner and I discuss, and we try and execute that. But then obviously you need to adjust in the match, because every opponent, or at least at the pro level, they're going to adjust and adapt. So you need to just keep working with your partner and see what the
Sure.
best solution is.
Sure. Do you serve and volley?
Sometimes. I feel like I should do it more.
Mm-hmm.
I the last years I haven't done it a lot, but in the last this year and last year I started doing it more, and that's something that I've been trying to implement into my game to
Yeah.
use, because I think I have a very strong position at the net, and if I hit a good first serve or even a good second serve, I think it's an invitation for me to go to the net and already have my positioning there.
Right. Yeah, I'm the same way. I feel like I should do it more than I do, and a lot of
And
matches
sometimes
I'll tell my doubles partner like, "Hey, if I don't serve and volley, like yell at me because I need to
yeah.
be doing that." Like get on to
Yeah.
me about that.
It's good when your partner can encourage you, like, hey, you're serving so well, like, get up here, come next to
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah. It also can put a lot of pressure on the returner, right? If they,
hmm
you mentioned serving and volleying on second serves, right? And if you can hit like a kick serve where you have a little more time to come in,
hmm
the returner might also see you coming in, and they go for a little more, or try to kind of dip it a little bit lower at your feet, and they make a few more errors there as
hmm
well. Um, do you use different formations with your partners, like I formation or Aussie or anything like that?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I feel like in my career I've actually used them all. I like to play regular I formation, making sure that trying to so the returner doesn't know if the net person's going right or left. I'll do
Hmm.
Aussie formation, where you're basically on the same side, your net person is on the same side that you're serving on. And I've even done, like, both of us at the baseline. If someone is returning just too well, and or if my partner isn't having a good day at the net and she's just not seeing it,
Hmm.
then I'm not afraid to pull my partner back to the baseline, or same thing with my partner if they want me at the baseline. And
Sure.
then you work your way around it. And I think that's the beauty of doubles, because in
Yeah.
doubles there's not one strategy that, no, this is how you have to play. You can use the
Right.
whole court. If you, like, look at Jamie Murray, I think he has one of the worst forehands I've ever seen, but because he chips it and he gets into the net, like, how many
Doesn't
actual
matter.
forehands
Yeah.
does he have to hit? And he's been number one in the world and won so many grand slams. It just goes to show you can work doubles to your strengths, so you don't have to expose your weakness.
Right. What are your favorite times? Like, how do you decide like when to use I formation or Australian? Like, what are your favorite times to use those?
I mean, when it's working, then it's good to keep doing it. I mean, obviously, you don't want to get predictable, but I think if you're struggling, if you're doing regular formation and players are returning well and you're struggling to win points, I think it's good to mix it up.
Hmm.
Or vice versa, you're doing a lot of I formation, but you're not winning many points, then maybe you're overcomplicating it and you need to go more simple. So and I think also if you see a common pattern, like, hey, I serve wide and every time, they're a little late and they tend to hit it down the line, then instead of doing the I formation to make your partner like have to dive for the ball because it's so far away
Yeah.
from them, just let your partner stand there, and hopefully your serve is still as effective and the ball will go right at them. So I think
Right.
I think you just need to adjust based on what you're seeing in the game.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have a preference on like deuce or ad court for using these formations, or?
Not really.
Yeah.
I do like to use my forehand more because
Right.
I feel like I can do more damage with it. But if
Hmm.
I'm in the deuce side, I have my forehand already there. But if I'm on the ad side, then I tend to run around and hit inside out forehands, which I really like a lot. So I don't really have a huge preference when it comes to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that I think it might be slightly different. I talked um, in my interview a few weeks ago with Gabby Dabrowski. We talked about this, and I think at y'all's level of tennis, the backhands aren't like nearly as big of a liability as they are at like my like club league level of tennis. So what I tell a lot of my readers and audience is to use the I formation on the ad side a little more, because that net player will have a forehand volley in the middle, which is a lot stronger.
Hmm.
Because so many club and rec players just don't have very good backhand volleys.
Right.
So it's a way to kind of hide that.
Hmm.
Um, so earlier you mentioned Jamie Murray. He has I think he said the worst forehand you've ever seen. What do you consider your biggest weaknesses on the court?
Well, let me rephrase his. I think he has the worst forehand I've ever seen from someone who's become number one in the world.
Yeah, there you go.
So I need to give him a lot of credit on that.
What?
But my weaknesses, I think I've struggled on the return at times.
Yeah.
Especially when players are serving well. Um, and I think that's something I've been trying to work. It doesn't come as naturally to me, the
Hmm.
return, as maybe the serve does. And I think the mental aspect, I think every day is different, and girls can be a little bit moody sometimes, and sometimes it's some days are more difficult than others. So I've definitely struggled with that in the past, but I think that's something that all players do, and you need to work on yourself. So I
Hmm.
think the psychology aspect as well.
Okay. What have you done to work on those two things?
Well, for the returns, I just try and, whoever I'm practicing with, just, to ask them to serve to me, and
Yeah.
just work and work and work on returns as much as I can. And then the psychology part, like during quarantine, I was doing a lot of meditating,
Hmm.
and different visualization exercises and stuff. So I'm hoping that it probably, it doesn't happen overnight, but I hope if I can get into like a consistent routine, maybe that can make a difference in my career going forward. And also, one thing I've learned, especially from playing with Kreta, the last couple of years, she's so chilled on the court, and when she loses a match, it's like she lost a match. Like, okay, and if she wins a
Yeah.
match, she wins a match. Okay, great.
Yeah.
She doesn't give things too much attention, whether it's good or bad. And I feel that's rubbed off a little bit on me, that I'm not. Obviously, if I win a tournament, I'm thrilled. I'm excited,
Hmm.
but I know that there's another tournament the next week, so I can't really um keep thinking of, oh, I won a tournament, and
Yeah.
weeks go by. So you always have a job to do the next day, but then same thing, when you lose a match, guess what? You're playing on Monday next week again.
Right.
So I think the cycle of just not taking things overly serious.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. That sounds like I. It's almost embarrassing that I haven't read it before now, but I just started the inner game of tennis last week, um, and he talks about that a lot. It's at least the part I've gone through so far, about like seeing things for what they are rather than like judging them and like getting, I don't know, worked up about losing or winning a match. You just kind of like just see it for what it is and don't like say it's good or bad and things like
Hmm.
that. I think that's super helpful in the court.
Yeah.
Um, what do you use for meditation? Do you use any apps like Headspace or Calm or anything like that,
The
or is it
one I've been using is Balance.
okay?
So I've liked that, but also, like I said, the WTA was sending out WTA guided meditation as well.
Nice, that's cool.
Yeah.
So let's see. I had a couple other. So how do you? You said you've been playing with the same partner for how long?
Well, I played with Krita Pishke in 2018 and 19, and then from the
Mhm.
beginning of 2020, I've been playing with the Chinese player Yifan Shu, but she goes by
Okay.
Julie.
Okay. Got it. How do you choose a partner? Like how? Uh, Yeah, it sounds like you've kind of stuck with one partner for a few years, and then now you've got another one.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
some players like play with different partners. It seems like every other tournament or something.
Yeah. I mean, if you're lower ranked, a lot of times you're struggling to get in, and you
Hmm.
maybe might link up with a partner for a couple of tournaments, but then maybe you want to play with that partner, but you can't get in. So then you switch at the last minute just so you can get in, so you have a job that week. So
Hmm.
I think it's difficult for the when I was ranked, outside the top 40, I didn't have a steady partner really because it's just so difficult. But
Right.
once if you're willing to like commit, and a lot of players, when you have one bad tournament or two bad tournaments, they panic and all of a sudden they think something is wrong, and then they want to
Hmm.
switch partners because everyone seems to be looking for something better. But the important part in a
Sure.
partnership is that you're supposed to learn together and grow together. And so Květa gave me the opportunity back in 2018 to play with her because she was much higher ranked than I was at the time, and I think I learned a lot from her and did a good job to raise my level to where she was at. um but yeah, basically we talk in the locker rooms, and you get to know the players on tour, and you see how they're practicing, and you see their work
Hmm.
ethic, and you see their game, and then you're like, ooh, if I had her next to me and she has her lefty serve, then that would be cool for me at the net. Maybe we would match up well. And then if you talk with the players, I think everyone knows what style player matches up well with them, and I think those are the players that you target and want to, try and ask and see if they want to play with you as well.
Hmm. What style is best for your game?
Well, I think someone that returns well definitely helps. Just because, like I said, it's not the strongest part of my game, but it is improving. So I think if I can have someone that can be
Yeah.
rock solid with that, and also someone that's very good at the net, because if I'm serving well, but they're hesitant or they don't like to volley, then it's not gonna make my serve look good,
Right.
So I need someone that can complement me on that. So those are a couple things that I look for in partners.
Right. Awesome. So what do things look like for like a pre-match? Like going into a match, what do you do to kind of game plan against a specific opponent? Do you watch a lot of film or look at stats or anything like that?
I do a bit of that, and obviously my coach does what he
Hmm.
can, but I like to do research for myself because I feel like if my coach tells me, oh, her forehand isn't great, but I feel like I need to see it for myself to understand what he means by, pick
Right.
on the forehand.
Right.
So I will either go to a match of theirs if they're playing before me, and maybe their match hasn't been played yet.
Hmm.
And if not, then I try and find some videos and see if I can pick up on any weaknesses or tendencies or something like that. And but also I've played against a lot of players by now, so
Right.
I remember certain things that maybe worked or didn't work in certain matches.
Okay. Got it. And then what about after a match? Do you do any sort of like post-match assessment or post-tournament assessment and like look
I
back and
always talk with my coach after the match and after the
uh-huh.
tournament and do an evaluation based on like how I played, how I felt, what the opponents did, what I did well, what I could have done better, all of that. So we talk after every match, but then we try and talk after the tournament as well, because there's the match picture and then there's an
Sure.
overall big picture.
Right. What does that look like? Do y'all have like a structure or framework for that, or is it just kind of a natural like, here's how I felt kind of conversation?
We have a conversation, but we'll also even sit down and maybe rewatch the match and go over some
Hmm.
things as well. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Um, so next, I want to get into just some routines. So let's talk about practice first. So what does a typical practice look like for you? How's it kind of scheduled?
Well, I normally arrive 30 minutes before my practice so I can warm up because I want to make sure my body is warm and I'm ready to go from the
Hmm.
beginning. So I already have 20 or 30 minutes of, moving my body before. But all
What
practices
is
are different.
what's the warm up look like? Sorry.
I usually start on the floor and I'll like roll a bit either on like a peanut or on a foam roll and, loosen up some tight muscles. But then, I'll jog, I'll do a dynamic, I'll do some active dynamic stretches.
Okay.
I'll do band work to make sure, my shoulders and wrists are warmed up. I might throw a medicine ball. I maybe do some like quick feet or shadow swings. It depends
Hmm.
on the temperature. Obviously if it's really hot, then
Yeah.
my blood is probably flowing already, so I don't
Right.
need to jog, 10 times around the court. But if it's cold, then, it might
Right.
take a little longer. But just making sure the blood is flowing and that, my back, my hips, my shoulders, everything is just
Hmm.
feeling like if I needed to play points right away, just warm up for 5 minutes and play points, that my body would be ready. That's
Sure.
that's the standard I try and go by.
Okay.
But yeah, practices are different. It depends. Some days, I'll do maybe a lot of feeding because I want to work on things, maybe a little bit of technique or some rhythm, or just get a lot of repetitions in, and feeding feels good. Sometimes I'll do a lot of live ball just to make it more realistic. Some days we'll play points, point situations if there are certain strategies on the court that you want to work on, then
Yeah.
maybe you do the exact like strategies over and over. And then there's match play or set play that we do. So
Hmm.
you go and just play a set against another team and talk with the coach in between points and try and figure it out. So those are different ways in which I can practice.
Okay.
And this week, because World Team Tennis still isn't for another couple of weeks, I'm playing points. I even played a set today, but overall, like I feel like because of quarantine and stuff, I feel like I'm still, working on trying to find a rhythm and trying to feel
Yeah.
my shots again and get used to the heat and moving and stuff. So I'm just like building my way into that point
Right.
competitiveness.
So is the set today, is that a double set or do you play singles or?
I played some singles points today. Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, just singles helps doubles, doubles helps singles. I
Sure.
played doubles points as well,
Right.
but yeah, I do both because both have benefits for
Hmm.
the other.
What are some of your favorite or what drills, I guess, feeding drills or live ball drills do you find most helpful for doubles?
Um, oof. There's so many. I think one doubles drill that I like is, just to, you and whoever you're hitting with both up at the net and doing reflex volleys. I think, any doubles player can always
Yeah.
benefit from that. I really like working on serves and returns because the way you start the point, especially in doubles, dictates a lot of times how the way in which the point can go if you're either in control or if you're defending. So
Right.
for singles or for doubles, I think practicing serves and returns is really important.
Right. Yeah, that's something I've personally changed about my. I don't practice very often anymore. I usually just play matches, but when I do, I used to a lot of practices not even hit a serve.
Mm,
And I wish I knew this stuff like in college, but I found out now. And in like the past year and a half or so, if I go out and practice just for like an hour, I'll spend like at least 20 or 30 minutes just serving and returning,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
because it's just such a big part of the game. And I think like I've had Craig O'Shaughnessy on before,
Mm-hmm.
who's the big like stats guy, and his big thing is like the number one or the most common thing that happens in tennis is a missed return, right? So it's
Yeah.
like that's the most common point. I think 30% or something of all
Oh
points are
wow.
just a serve in, and that's it, and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't come back. So yeah, that's a huge part for sure. So what about a pre-match routine? Do you have like what is like, let's say it's match day and you playing at like, I don't know, like 4 o'clock or something like that. What is
Mm-hmm.
walk us like through what the day looks like?
Well, if I'm playing In the afternoon, then I'll decide if I want to practice in the morning, maybe for 30 minutes, and then go and
Hmm.
warm up for my match before my 4 o'clock match, or if I maybe just want to do a warm up. I think that just depends on how I feel I'm playing.
Hmm.
But yeah, I would get up, eat breakfast. I would definitely, regardless if I have a practice in the morning or not, I would definitely do some foam rolling and some exercises to get my body going, because I don't want to wait until the afternoon to get my blood flowing. But if I don't practice in the morning, I would eat lunch maybe around um, it would depend. Maybe I would go warm up for my match around 1, eat at 2 to then, have the 2 hours later to go play at 4. Or I would
Sure.
do it the other way. I would eat an earlier lunch, maybe at 12. Or 1, and then I can go practice at 3 o'clock, and then, be pretty warm and, just go and change and then go for the match. So there's a lot of
Right.
different scenarios. I think it depends on court availability
Hmm.
as well. Um, yeah, because sometimes also you like to warm up on the court that you're playing on, because the practice courts occasionally are different than the match courts.
Oh
So if
wow, I
I'm the
didn't know
first,
that.
if I'm the first match at 4 o'clock, I'll go warm up at 2:30 on my match court. From 2:30 to 3, I have that hour to, get dressed and, mix some drinks that I'm going to take on the court, talk to my coach, and it's fine. But if maybe on the third match I need to go on the practice court, then maybe I warm up a bit earlier and
Right.
and then take my time.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Hmm.
Okay, interesting. And then let's see. Okay, and then what about how long is that practice the day of a match? Like if you're playing in the afternoon, how long is that morning practice?
Again, it depends on how I'm feeling. Usually, I would just
Yeah.
do maybe 30 minutes. So it's kind of like it's a short practice, maybe a warm up. But
Okay.
occasionally, I'll do an hour if the weather is good and I don't feel like I'm getting tired and there's something I want to work on. I might practice for an hour.
Okay, got it. So the goal of that's mostly just to like get your body kind of loose and warm so that you can come out ready, I guess.
Well, that would be the goal of a warm up, just to make sure, okay, I've hit a few shots here, they're going in. Yeah, I feel good and it's fine. But the goal of the practice would maybe be to, if there's something specific that I'm working on in my own game, or something specific that I want to do in the match that's coming up, maybe I'll try and get a few extra repetitions just to make sure that, I'm feeling good on it, and that it's working.
Sure. Okay. Cool. Um, all right. And what about like how do your practices vary from like during a tournament versus like if you have like a few weeks off? What does that kind of difference look like?
I feel like during a tournament is more just fine tuning and feeling
Hmm.
good. It's a lot of warm ups, and maybe you work on stuff here and there, but you don't want to be on the practice court too long, because you don't want to be tired, especially if you're going deep in the tournament. Whereas if I have 3 weeks off, I'm probably going to work hard to improve for maybe the first 2 weeks. So maybe even increase the load in fitness and more hours on the court, and then slowly taper down during that last week to feel fresh and ready to go for when I do get to the tournament.
Got it. Okay. So what's an example of something in the past that you've used that time for? Like, is it like, okay, during these 3 weeks, we're going to work on returning and we're going to hit 1,000 returns a day or something like that for 2 weeks or?
Yeah, that's definitely something. Maybe that's a great example between clay court season, grass court season, because sometimes,
Mm, yeah.
if you don't make the second week of the French Open and you choose to take maybe the first week on the grass off and then just play 2 warm-up tournaments instead of 3, then you might have 2 weeks to practice. So it might be like, hey, you know what, grass is very different, so let's spend a lot of time on, staying low. So working out in the gym, doing a lot of lunges just to make sure your legs are prepared for the grass, but then
Mm,
going out and practicing maybe things that work well on the grass, which is, staying lower on the returns, obviously, shorter backswing.
Sure.
You might stand a bit closer to the baseline. Just certain things, yeah.
Okay, very cool. What's your favorite surface? Is it grass?
Grass.
Grass.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I've
think,
only
well,
played on it
I'm
like
not sure if it's
twice,
my
but
favorite surface or that I just like it because it's my most successful surface.
oh, it can be the same.
Yeah.
Sometimes one follows the other.
Hmm.
Okay, so I want to get into just a few rapid fire questions and then we'll hop off. What is your favorite tennis book?
My favorite
If
tennis
you've read a lot of tennis
book.
books, maybe you haven't.
I have read a few. I did like Agassi's book a lot.
Hmm.
Winning Ugly by Brad Gilbert was a good one. Locker Room Power by Dave Samuel.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
I've heard of that.
that was a very good one, and I'm probably gonna read it again. I think I even had like my highlighter and was making a lot of points because I think that book is very accurate and just very good for the mind. So if you haven't read that one, I don't think it's very famous. I'm not sure how famous he got it, but it was a coach that was helping me when I was playing a little bit with Anna Smith, a British player, and he gave me his book, and it's actually very good.
Yeah, actually, I have a copy of it and I have not read it yet.
Definitely read it.
Yeah, I chatted with him like a month or so ago about I think it was about helping market his book. So
Hmm.
he sent me a copy, and I still haven't had a chance to read it, but
No, read
I will
it.
definitely do that.
It's worth it.
Yeah. What's your favorite non-tennis book?
I mean, I've always loved the Harry Potter series, even
Okay,
as an
there you
adult.
go.
Those are great books, but I don't actually read a whole lot, um,
Hmm.
just because I'm still doing school. I do online university. So
Okay, yeah,
maybe when I'm done with that, I've been doing that since 2013. Maybe when I'm done with that, I'll read a little bit more.
nice. What's so is it what school are you attending or how's
Indiana
that work?
University East.
Okay, so that's the thing that's set up with the WTA.
Hmm. Yep.
Cool, got it. And what or do you choose a major for that?
Yeah, I'm a communications major.
Okay, awesome. My brother just graduated with a communications major.
Oh, good.
Um, okay, so what's your favorite tournament?
Wimbledon.
Wimbledon. Why?
Best memories.
It's just the best. Yeah.
Yes.
What is your favorite pre-match meal?
Um, Probably just like a gluten-free pasta with maybe pesto and a little bit of chicken.
Okay. And last question, what is a tennis story you've never told anyone?
Hmm. I don't think I have a story that I've never told anyone. um, so- couldn't
Not
tell you
sure.
really, but I do have a funny story if you want to hear one.
All right, a funny story. Let's do it.
So, the first Wimbledon ever won a match in was the 2017 Wimbledon. And
Hmm.
my first match was a mixed doubles match that I won, and it was on court one. Because we were playing against British wildcards against Laura Robson and Dom Inglot. And so we were a TBA match, and then court one opened up early, so we got to go play on court one, which was awesome.
Hmm.
But I'm hunting to try and find a mixed partner, and I'm like getting numbers for every guy in the draw and writing everyone. Everyone's already
Wait,
set.
how long before the tournament is this?
This is like 2 days before the entry deadline for mixed doubles.
Okay,
So I'm
got
really
it.
like time
Yeah.
crunching, and I
So
write this
you've
guy.
qualified and you just have to like find a partner
No, I need to make sure someone's
has
ranking is
enough
high
points.
enough to get
Oh, I
in with
see.
me.
I see.
So my
Okay.
options are limited. But I write this guy, Andre Begemann, a German guy. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
hey, you want to play? He's like, sure.
Yeah.
Like, never seen him in my life, never talked to him, nothing. And before our first match, I'm like, do you want to warm up? Sure. So he shows up like 10 minutes late to the practice court. I'm like, oh God. And I don't think he even warmed up for practice. So like, and so we
There you
hit and
go.
then we go, we play our match, we win. And he's like, oh, you're not bad. Like, maybe we can win another match. So the next day we have a match. He shows up almost on time. He was maybe like 2 minutes late.
Mhm.
And we go and we beat Casey Delacqua and Rajiv Ram, and they were one of the seeded teams, and we beat them 15-13 in the third set.
Oh wow.
And it was the last match of the day because it was already getting dark. They were thinking of suspending us till the next
Mhm.
day. And then, obviously, next time we play, it's his birthday. And guess what? He even shows up a couple minutes early to warm up this time.
Wow.
So we go, we play, we win again, our third round match. It was his birthday, so he was all excited and happy. And we go for a quarterfinal match, and he's walking to the court on time, and he's actually coming from the gym. So every time he improved, and then we lost in the quarterfinals, a close match.
Oh
But I
man,
thought that
you
was
should have
hilarious how,
kept showing up late. It sounded like that was working.
yeah, maybe, but every day he was improving.
Yeah, that's funny. That's awesome. Cool. Well, Nicole, thanks for hopping on. I appreciate it, and we'll have to do it again sometime for sure.
Yeah, sounds good. It was nice. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, and best of luck with the rest of the season.
Thank you, if it happens.